The Craxus slave market was infamous throughout the galaxy, a sprawling bazaar of sorrow where the cries of the oppressed mingled with the clinking of chains. Scylla, with her luminescent blue skin and eyes that seemed to hold the depth of the universe, stood out even among the exotic array of species displayed for sale. Venthians, her people, were rare and highly sought after for their psychic abilities, but those very gifts were the reason she now found herself imprisoned, her powers muted by a cruel, metallic suppressor clamped around her neck. The air was thick with the stench of despair, and the constant hum of alien languages filled the market as buyers haggled over flesh and bone. Scylla had learned to turn inward, closing off her mind to the horrors that surrounded her. Days blended into one another, each marked by the same suffering and degradation. On that fateful day, the crowd parted for a figure who contrasted sharply with the usual clientele of slavers and traders. Captain Joel Harris was a human, relatively uncommon in this part of the galaxy. His appearance was rugged, with scars that told stories of battles fought and won. His eyes scanned the market with a mixture of disgust and sorrow, a look that did not go unnoticed by Scylla. As Joel approached her platform, Scylla felt a flicker of hope, quickly suppressed. Hope was dangerous for someone in her position. She watched him as he spoke with the slaver, a vile Grotharian whose multiple eyes gleamed with greed. The exchange was brief. Humans were known for their straightforward dealings. The next thing Scylla knew, the slaver was unlocking her chains, and she was being handed over to Joel. "Let's get you out of these," Joel said, his voice soft but carrying an undercurrent of unmistakable authority as he removed her shackles. He looked into her eyes, and for a moment, Scylla felt as though he could see straight into her soul. "You're not a slave anymore. You're free." Freedom. The word was alien to Scylla, as distant and unreachable as her home planet of VYNTH. Yet, as she followed Joel through the throngs of the market, walking past beings who stared in disbelief, she began to allow herself to feel it. The suppressor around her neck remained, a lingering reminder of her captivity, but for the first time in what felt like forever, she dared to hope. Aboard Joel's ship, the Starbounder, Scylla was shown to a small room that would be hers. "Take some time to rest," Joel advised, leaving her alone with her thoughts. The room was modest but clean, a stark contrast to the filth of the market. Scylla sat on the edge of the bed, her mind racing. Why had this human bought her? What would he want in return? Her kind was often used for their psychic abilities in ways that left them drained and broken. Would Joel be any different? As the ship began to move, leaving Craxus behind, Scylla felt the suppressor around her neck for the first time not as a shackle, but as a challenge. She was free, or at least as free as she could be with the device still intact. She knew that true freedom would require more than just the removal of chains. It would require the reclaiming of her powers. And perhaps, with this human's help, she could find a way to reclaim not only her powers but her life as well. The thought was terrifying and exhilarating. For the first time in a long while, Scylla looked forward to the future, uncertain but filled with potential, under the vast, starry canvas of space. Life aboard the Starbounder was unlike anything Scylla had ever known. The ship was a beacon of bustling activity, its corridors filled with the diverse crew that Captain Joel Harris had assembled over his years of travel. The crew members, coming from various species and backgrounds, shared a common trait. They were all, in one way or another, outcasts or refugees, seeking a new purpose under Joel's command. In her first days of freedom, Scylla was cautious, keeping to herself as she explored the limited confines of the ship. Her room became her sanctuary, a place where she could retreat whenever the whispers of her past threatened to overwhelm her. Yet, despite her isolation, she could not ignore the gentle knock that came to her door on the third day. "Hey, I'm Mika," said the figure at the doorway, a slight, wiry individual with intricate tattoos marking their metallic skin, a sign of their robotic heritage. Mika was the ship's engineer, and their smile was warm and unguarded. "Joel told me about you. Thought you might like a tour of the ship, get to know the rest of the gang." Hesitant but curious, Scylla accepted. As they walked, Mika explained the functions of various areas. The engine room with its pulsing heart of energy, the control deck with its vast array of screens and buttons, and the communal area where crew members shared meals and stories. With each step, the ship felt less like a vessel and more like a home. Mika didn't press Sila for details about her past, for which she was grateful. Instead, they shared stories of the stars, of planets with skies of silver and moons of green, of cosmic storms that painted the void with colors unseen by any on Earth. It was during one of these conversations that Mika noticed the suppressor around Sila's neck. "That must be uncomfortable," Mika noted one day, their tone casual but their eyes sharp with a mechanic's curiosity. "You know, I might be able to help with that. I've tinkered with similar tech before." The offer took Sila by surprise. Trust was not given easily, especially not by someone who had been betrayed as many times as she had. But there was a sincerity in Mika's gaze that felt disarmingly genuine. Over the next few days, Mika worked with Sila to carefully dismantle the suppressor. The process was slow and meticulous, with Mika explaining each step to ensure Sila's comfort and understanding. When the suppressor finally fell away, it felt like a chain had been lifted from Sila's very soul. The return of her psychic abilities was gradual. At first, there were only faint whispers, like distant echoes of thoughts not her own. But as she practiced and honed her skills, the whispers grew clearer, stronger. She could feel the fabric of the cosmos again, its infinite threads weaving through her mind. It was during a routine scouting mission that Sila's abilities first proved essential. She sensed a disturbance in the void, a ripple of malintent that was too structured to be natural. Alarmed, she reported her feelings to Captain Harris, who immediately took her warning seriously. "Looks like we've got company," Joel said grimly as he steered the Starbounder towards the coordinates Sila provided. The ship's sensors soon confirmed her fears. A band of pirate ships, known as the Red Star Raiders, were lying in wait along their planned route. Joel's decision was swift. "We'll need to prepare for a fight," he declared, calling the crew to action stations. The atmosphere aboard the ship shifted, the crew moving with a practiced efficiency that spoke of many battles survived together. As the Starbounder braced for the impending confrontation, Sila stood beside Joel, her mind attuned to the psychic ebbs and flows of space around them. She was no longer just a former slave with a broken past. She was a crew member, a psychic navigator, a friend. And she was ready to defend her new home with everything she had regained. As the Starbounder maneuvered into the hazardous terrain of the Segris asteroid belt, Captain Joel Harris briefed his crew with a stern urgency that matched the pulsing of the ship's engines. The Red Star Raiders, a formidable pirate clan known for their ruthless tactics and unpredictability, had set a trap along their route, expecting easy prey. But with Sila's psychic foresight, Joel planned to turn the tables on them. "Listen up," Joel addressed the crew, his voice echoing through the ship's comm system. "We have the advantage of surprise. They're not expecting us to come at them in the asteroid belt. We'll use the asteroids for cover and hit them where it hurts. I need everyone sharp and ready." The crew members, a patchwork of species each with their own unique abilities, nodded in agreement. Mika adjusted the ship's energy shields to maximize maneuverability, while other crew members prepped the weapon systems, loading coil guns and charging plasma cannons. Sila took her position next to Joel on the bridge, her senses extended out into the void, feeling for the psychic signatures of their foes. As the Starbounder slid silently through the asteroid belt, the proximity alarms began to chirp intermittently, signaling the closeness of the massive, floating rocks. The tension on the bridge was palpable. Every crew member knew the stakes were high. "Contact!" shouted the navigator, as blips suddenly appeared on the radar. Multiple ships emerging from behind the asteroids, their hulls marked with the crimson insignia of the Red Star Raiders. "Engage stealth mode and hold fire until my mark," Joel commanded. The Starbounder's engines hummed lower, and the ship became a silent shadow among the stars, its outline blurred against the backdrop of rocky debris. The pirates, confident in their numbers, spread out to canvass the area. Joel, with Sila's guidance, piloted the Starbounder to exploit the gaps in their formation, weaving through asteroids with precision. The pirates, realizing too late that they were not hunters but prey, scrambled to organize an effective response. "Now, Sila," Joel said, his eyes locked on the tactical display. With a deep focus, Sila projected a psychic burst, a disorienting wave of confusion and fear, aimed directly at the pirate crews. The raiders' ships faltered, their movements becoming erratic as their crews struggled against the sudden onslaught of terror. "Fire!" Joel ordered. The Starbounder erupted in a fury of light and energy, plasma cannons firing in synchronized bursts. The first pirate ship was caught off guard, its shields failing under the barrage, resulting in a catastrophic breach that sent it careening into a nearby asteroid. One by one, the pirate ships fell into disarray, their coordination broken. The Starbounder darted between asteroids, striking with precision and retreating before the raiders could regroup. The battle was chaotic, a dance of death amidst the silent witnesses of floating rock. As the last of the pirate ships exploded in a brilliant flash of light, the crew of the Starbounder cheered, their relief and triumph echoing through the halls of the ship. Joel turned to Sila, a grin breaking across his face. "Couldn't have done it without you, Sila. You saved us all today." Sila nodded, feeling a mix of exhilaration and exhaustion. She had tapped into her abilities more deeply than ever before, and the connection to her crew and the universe itself felt more profound. She wasn't just a former slave. She was a key member of a crew that had become like family. As the debris from the battle settled, and the Starbounder resumed its course, Sila looked out into the vastness of space. She had faced her past and her fears head-on, and now she looked forward to whatever challenges the stars might hold. With her newfound family and regained powers, she felt ready to face them all, one cosmic storm at a time. After the adrenaline of the battle had worn off, the Starbounder resumed its journey through the quieter parts of the galaxy. The victory over the Red Star Raiders brought a palpable sense of relief and camaraderie among the crew, but it also stirred deeper reflections within Sila. Her newfound role as the ship's psychic navigator had not only proven crucial in combat, but had also bonded her more tightly with her crewmates. However, the weight of her past still hung heavy, a shadow that lingered even in her brightest moments. In the days that followed, Captain Joel Harris took it upon himself to engage Sila in long conversations about Earth and his reasons for venturing into the stars. They often sat in the observation deck, staring out at the vast cosmic sea that sprawled endlessly before them. "I was like you once, in a manner of speaking," Joel confessed during one of these sessions. "Bound by circumstances I didn't choose. Earth can be a beautiful place, but it can feel just as much a prison if your dreams are bigger than the sky it offers." Sila listened intently, finding comfort in the parallels of their stories. "And you left it all behind?" she asked, her voice a mix of curiosity and awe. Joel nodded, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "I did. I decided that if I was to find freedom, it wouldn't be on the ground. It had to be out here, among the stars. And along the way, I picked up others who felt just as lost, just as chained by their pasts." Their discussions often drifted from personal histories to broader visions. Joel spoke of a galaxy where freedom was the birthright of every being, not something to be bought or sold. His ideals resonated with Sila, igniting a spark of purpose she hadn't realized she was missing. However, as Sila became more integrated into the crew and her confidence grew, so did her visibility. It wasn't long before whispers of her presence reached unwelcome ears. A spy for the Interstellar Authority, planted within the crew as a low-level technician, had been monitoring the developments on board. The Authority, a regulatory body that maintained a strict non-interference and anti-slavery stance, would be interested to know that a human captain was harboring a former slave with unchecked psychic abilities. The spy, a clever and unassuming Gelnarian named Tyrok, bided his time, collecting evidence and waiting for the right moment to transmit his findings back to his superiors. It was during a routine maintenance blackout, where communication with outside forces was temporarily suspended, that Tyrok found his chance. Scylla, ever sensitive to the ebb and flow of thoughts and emotions around her, felt a surge of duplicity one evening. Her training with Mika and her natural instincts led her to the communications bay, where she found Tyrok hunched over a terminal, data pad in hand. "What are you doing?" Scylla's voice was calm, but her presence filled the room with a palpable intensity. Tyrok, caught off guard, stuttered an excuse, but Scylla felt the lie weave through his thoughts. She didn't need to probe deeply. The guilt was written clear across his mental surface. "I must report this," Tyrok insisted, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. "The authority must know." Scylla understood the stakes. Exposure could mean recapture, or worse, not just for her but for the entire crew. Her decision was swift. Using her psychic abilities, she gently nudged Tyrok's mind, not erasing memories but clouding his intent, fostering doubt about his mission. When the confrontation ended, Tyrok was left unsure, his resolve shaken. Scylla didn't want to invade his mind more than necessary, but she knew the risk he posed to her newfound life and family. As the Starbounder continued its journey, Scylla knew that the battle she had fought was not just against pirates or external threats, but also against the shadows of her past and the ongoing challenges she would face in a galaxy that wasn't quite ready for her kind of freedom. The skirmish with Tyrok was a reminder of the delicate balance she had to maintain, and the vigilance she would need to protect the life she was only just beginning to build. The Starbounder's next destination was Naxxon Prime, a planet renowned for its rich culture and strategic importance. However, as the ship approached the system, it became evident that the situation was far from peaceful. Naxxon Prime was under siege by the Galactic, an aggressive alien force intent on dominating sectors of the galaxy to control various species with psychic abilities, aiming to harness these powers for warfare. Captain Joel Harris convened a strategy meeting with his crew as they entered orbit. "The Galactic have blockaded the planet and are attacking civilian targets," he explained grimly, highlighting areas on the holographic map that showed intense conflict zones. "We can't just stand by and watch this happen. These people need our help." The crew of the Starbounder, many of whom had faced oppression or had been rescued by Joel, were quick to agree. Scylla, feeling a deep kinship with those being targeted for their psychic abilities, was especially determined. "I can help coordinate the civilians' escape routes from here," she suggested, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Joel nodded, appreciative of her resolve. "All right, let's make it happen. Mika, prep the shuttles for evac. We're going in." The battle for Naxxon Prime was markedly different from the skirmishes in the vacuum of space. The Starbounder had to navigate through aerial defenses, dodging anti-aircraft fire as it descended into the atmosphere. The Galaric's forces were well prepared, their technology advanced, and their tactics ruthless. Once in the urban environment of Naxxon Prime's capital city, the crew split into teams, with some providing air support while others, including Joel and Scylla, led ground operations. The city was a labyrinth of towering structures and tight streets, which provided both cover and challenges for the rescue operations. Scylla's role was crucial. Her psychic abilities allowed her to sense groups of civilians hiding from the ongoing conflict, their fear and desperation a beacon to her heightened senses. She guided the teams to the safest routes, often having to adjust paths in real time as enemy patrols moved through the area. The evacuations were tense and fraught with danger. At one point, a group of civilians they were escorting came under direct fire. The crew's return fire was precise, aimed at disabling rather than killing, but the stakes were painfully clear. Each life saved was a victory, and each setback a heavy loss. Throughout the ordeal, Scylla maintained a mental map of the city's psychic echoes, navigating through pain and panic to find pockets of hope. Her abilities grew stronger with each use, the bond between her and the crew deepening with each life they saved together. After days of continuous operations, The tide began to turn. The Cholerics, realizing that the Starbounder's crew was not just a minor nuisance, but a significant threat, redirected their efforts to eliminate them. In a final, desperate bid to break the siege, Joel led a daring assault on the Cholerics' command center. The operation was risky, with the crew using the city's subterranean service tunnels to infiltrate the heavily fortified building. Scylla, at Joel's side, used her powers to confuse and mislead the Choleric sentinels, creating illusions that masked their true numbers and intentions. As Mika and the others planted explosive charges to disable the command center's communications array, Scylla and Joel confronted the Choleric's commander. The encounter was tense, with Scylla projecting a potent mix of fear and doubt into the minds of their foes, giving Joel and his team the edge they needed to secure the facility. With the command center disabled, the Choleric's forces were thrown into disarray, allowing local resistance forces to gain the upper hand. The blockade was broken, and aid began to flow freely to the beleaguered planet. As the crew of the Starbounder watched the grateful citizens of Naxxam Prime celebrate their liberation, Scylla felt a profound connection to the galaxy and its inhabitants. She had not only helped save a world, but had also cemented her place as a protector among a crew that had once seemed like unlikely allies. The battle had been hard fought, but the rewards, freedom and a sense of belonging, were beyond measure. The liberation of Naxxam Prime was celebrated not just on the planet, but across nearby systems, where news of the daring efforts of the Starbounder's crew spread like wildfire. The victory was more than a military triumph. It was a symbol of resistance against oppression, a beacon of hope that even the smallest ship could change the course of history. As the Starbounder prepared to leave Naxxam Prime, Captain Joel Harris was invited to speak at a grand council formed by representatives from various planets within the sector. The council had been organized to address the aftermath of the Choleric's invasion and to prevent such crises in the future. Scylla, having been integral to the victory, stood by Joel's side, her presence a powerful statement on the value of freedom and the strength of the once oppressed. The council convened on a large space station orbiting Naxxam Prime, where leaders and diplomats gathered in a vast auditorium. The air was thick with anticipation and the weight of momentous decisions yet to be made. Joel, with his characteristic blend of humility and determination, addressed the assembly. "We stand at a crossroads," he began, his voice resonant in the hushed room. "The galaxy is filled with diverse beings, each with unique gifts and rights to freedom. The events on Naxxam Prime are a reminder of what happens when we allow fear and power to dictate our actions towards those who are different." Scylla listened, her heart swelling with pride and newfound purpose. Joel continued, advocating for a coalition of planets committed to defending against tyranny and supporting each other in times of need. His proposal included the formation of a rapid response unit that could mobilize quickly to defend any member planet facing a threat like the Cholerics. As the council deliberated, Scylla felt the weight of many eyes upon her. She had become, in many ways, the face of what they were fighting for, someone who had been chained and treated like dirt, only to rise as a key figure in a significant galactic event. After hours of discussion, the council voted overwhelmingly in favor of Joel's proposals. Cheers erupted in the auditorium, and Scylla felt a rush of relief and hope. The new coalition would be a force for good, safeguarding the freedom she had come to cherish. In the days that followed, Scylla made a decision that would chart the course of her future. Inspired by the changes she helped bring about, she chose to return to her home planet VYNTH. Her people still suffered under the remnants of old regimes that sought to suppress their psychic abilities for control. Scylla, with the support of Joel and the Starbounder crew, planned to free her people and help them find their place in the new Galaxy Coalition. Before departing, Scylla and Joel stood once more on the observation deck of the Starbounder, looking out at the stars. "You changed my life," Scylla said, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself." Joel smiled, his eyes kind. "You reminded us what we're fighting for, Scylla. It's not just about surviving out here. It's about making things right. Go make things right for your people. We'll always be here if you need us." With heartfelt goodbyes and promises to keep in touch, Scylla left the Starbounder, her spirits lifted by the knowledge that she was no longer alone. She was a part of a vast, interconnected galaxy, filled with beings who were learning, just as she had, that humanity's greatest gift wasn't just survival. It was the compassion to free others, the courage to defend the downtrodden, and the wisdom to unite for a common good. As the Starbounder set off for new adventures, Scylla began her journey home, ready to spread the light of freedom that had once been gifted to her. The universe, vast and mysterious, seemed a little smaller that day, bound together by shared ideals and the unbreakable spirit of those who dare to change it.